Ordinarily, I wouldn't include the Kennedys in a review of my feelings about the Vietnam War veterans, but I came across a YouTube video in which Bobby Kennedy, if the transcription served me, which it may not, said that we all have to die with our boots on helping the poor. And sometimes it's even important to break the law in service of what's right. Well, Bobby Kennedy's talents are very well noted, and I think that his grasp of the issues involving environmentalism and corporate derision for the safety of the public are well placed in this election. But I don't think he has anything more than a compromised attitude about what has happened to me. And I think that his rhetoric in that case, the closing of his book he was reading, serves his own bloodthirsty enemies. Because Oliver North, of course, said that he was just like Martin Luther King, being civilly disobedient when he mined Nicaraguan harbors. And you could say King was nonviolent, the law was on his side, he wasn't civil disobedient until he turned blue. I worked at a community college and learned from experience that if you try to help NAM veterans, they will only turn on you. It's a very sinister culture. They have a protection racket going where they come at you and say, well, you can't stand up for yourself. And if we stop standing up for you, then you're dead. And then they start showing that you can't stand up for yourself by sabotaging you. It's not a very patriotic thing to be doing. And certainly is not what Bobby Kennedy meant. But they will read it as encouraging violent, illegal activities in the service of what is right, because they're extremists. It's a cult as well as a veteran semper fi mentality. Now, a lot of them are badly injured from things, there's strained comprehension of people who are sheltered. Now, one of them said he had 5 Purple Hearts, and he brought it out anytime he had an argument with someone from politics. The civil rights movement felt that I was interfering by mentioning how I was tortured as a child. And they really shushed me hard because you can get status and a certain protection. What Bobby Kennedy meant was what John Lewis did when he sat down strike for the right to vote. It wasn't even breaking the law at that stage. The law was on the side of the people marching in Selma, but he was breaking the social codes of the bigoted South. And I understand that, but he can't expect the people who purposefully misread and hire Jaime Carbonell not to deliberately misconstrue what he means by that. So, the NAM terrorism is real. I remember when Reagan invaded Central America. They're mercenaries. And a lot of people were very morally disturbed by the death squads in El Salvador. Rightly, Martha Gellhorn, who wrote to me once, said that it was more hopeless there than anything she ever saw in Nazi Germany, because in Nazi Germany you knew that it was going to end. In El Salvador, it just seemed to be like it's going to be this way forever. Well, if I had recognition for having been tortured as a child, I wouldn't feel necessarily the need to raise my Purple Heart. It's not a Purple Heart. It's not one. It's my civil rights status to show that I'm not a a person who has never been dragged through glass. The people who gurgle and say, "Oh, you're earning your street cred that way, man." Because a lot of people cut bargains with these types. Seattle's honchos all cut bargains with the Nambets. And then they have solidarity, man. Well, Painter Gabriel, who I used to really like, I admired his stand on Africa and his sensibilities. He was frightened off from writing a song about El Salvador. I think almost certainly by the tone of, Paul Osbar, Bruce Carter, Westmoreland County, but to jump down, hold PP, and appear on Colin Powell TV the way they did. I mean, it was so simpering, and then Thatcher meeting with Pinochet. And if Pinochet could sing, he'd be with Ringo Starr showing off his rings. And that's the reality. And I don't think, it advantages American culture in any way to deny how disrespectful the NAM veterans are of public education and learning. They're very disrespectful. It's not their place to sabotage educators and beat up children. It really is not. And, whether they think it's uh, training camp against the communist devil or getting even with the November criminals for the backstab in Dallas or whatever they think. They're the backstabber who died, the November criminal. For glorifying the November criminal who died in Dallas or whatever they think. It's consistently mean-spirited and brutal towards people they claim to be the best representatives of. And behind the scenes, they have tanks. I mean, the Green Berets has it. It's the weirdest movie ever made, the John Wayne movie with George Takei in it. Something about the weirdo says, "Oh, Vietnam will make LSD look like mother's milk," or something like that. I mean, these people see violence as a hallucinogen to get psychedelic kicks from or something. It's not, it's a sordid mentality. I mean, that I don't applaud it. I mean, I know some damn veterans that are interesting. William Gibson, I think, was, or he had, maybe he wasn't, but he was part of the Canadian underground for damn veterans that Jimmy Carter forgave. I mean, but I was when they tortured me, I was just a child. I wasn't a draft dodger. I was just a child. So I mean, I could have been ensnared in the Vietnam War if I had been their age. And so it's Hocus Pocus by Martin Sheen. It's not like I'm going to escape it. They've dog tagged me. They've made me sort of a living species of their hostility for the United States. Now, I don't think it's wise to glamorize such undercurrents. Encourage them with the idea that sometimes you have to break the law to do valor. I think it's a mistaken presumption of how to cope with them. I mean, there probably are now veterans who are really upstanding people who would understand every word I'd said. Come on, Mac. Let's lay off each other for a minute, for real. But most of the time, they're full of social media brutality. It's green slime stuff. Really is. You'll believe it when you're dead. Green slime.